This video was originally recorded March 2019 during the ongoing Force for Good class series. To learn more about this annual series, please visit tibethouse.us.
The tradition when the Tibetans, Chinese Chan people, Korean Son people, Zen people, when they have an assembly to do any kind of an event, a ritual, an initiation, or meditation, or teaching, or chanting, they first chant this text, which is called the Heart Sutra, which is the text of a perfection of wisdom, of the realization of enlightenment type of thing. And this is the longer version, translated. And we recite it in the Zen way, which is hard in English. And actually this gentleman behind Ramdas, behind Krishna Das, behind Maharaj-ji's representative here, is Avalokiteshvara, but in a Korean painting, modern Korean painting, but in traditional style. He has a Buddha in the crown of his head to indicate he's a bodhisattva, celestial bodhisattva, like a deity, but he is the same as a Buddha. And he's considered the incarnation of the compassion, universal compassion of all Buddhas. And in this sutra, he's the one here that's referred to as Avalokiteshvara. Sorry, that's hard to pronounce, but it's good for the exercise for the tongue and the teeth to say it, okay? And we chant it in the Zen way, okay? Ready? Start from the top. In Sanskrit, Bhagavati Prajna Paramita Hridaya Sutra. In Tibetan, Chonde Deman Shera Parchani Buddha. In English, Blessed Lady Buddha, Transcendent Wisdom Heart Sutra. Thus did I hear on a single occasion the Blessed Lord was dwelling on the Vulture Peak and Kurha, together with great communities of mendicants and bodhisattvas. At that time the Blessed Lord entranced himself in the teaching samadhi called illumination of the profound. Just then the noble bodhisattva Avalokiteshvara, the great hero, was realizing the profound transcendence of wisdom, and he realized that his fine body-mind processes are void of the intrinsic reality. Thereupon, moved by the Buddha's power, Shariputra addressed the noble bodhisattva Avalokiteshvara, the great hero. Thus, when a noble son wants to engage in the practice of the profound transcendence of wisdom, how should he learn? Then the noble bodhisattva, the great hero, addressed Venerable Saradati Putra, the Shariputra. When any son or noble daughter wishes to engage in the practice of the profound transcendence of wisdom, he or she should realize it in this way. These five body-mind processes should be truly realized to be void of any intrinsic reality. Matter is voidness, voidness is matter, voidness is none other than matter, neither is matter other than voidness. Likewise, sensations, conceptions, mental functions, and consciousnesses are also void. Shariputra, thus things are voidness, signless, uncreated, unceased, stainless, impeccable, undecreased, and unincreased. Shariputra, thus in voidness there are no matter, no sensation, no conception, no mental function, no consciousness, no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mentality, no form, no sound, no scent, no taste, no texture, no idea. There are no sense media from eye to mentality, sense medium, and there are no consciousness media from visual, mental consciousness either. There are no ignorance and no cessation of ignorance, and so on, up to no old age and death, and no cessation of old age and death either. Likewise, there are no suffering, no origination, no sensation, no path, no intuitive wisdom, no attainment, and no non-attainment either. Therefore, Shariputra, because the Bodhisattva is without attainment, she lives in reliance on transcendent wisdom. His spirit is unobscured and free of fear, passing far beyond all confusion. She ultimately succeeds in nirvana, and all the Buddhas who live in past, present, and future rely on transcendent wisdom to reach manifestly perfect Buddhahood, unexcelled perfect enlightenment. Such being, so there is the mantra of transcendent wisdom, the mantra of great science, the unexcelled mantra, the uniquely universal mantra, the mantra that ends all suffering. It is not false and to be known as true. The transcendent wisdom mantra as follows: Tadyata Om Gate Gate Paragate Parasangate Bodhi Swaha Om Gate Gate Paragate Parasangate Bodhi Swaha Om Gate Gate Paragate Parasangate Bodhi Swaha. Shariputra, the Shuddha Bodhisattva, the great hero, learned the profound transcendence of wisdom. Thereupon the blessed Lord arose from that samadhi and applauded the noble Bodhisattva Avalokiteshvara, the great hero. Excellent, excellent, noble son, so it is, so it is. One should practice the profound transcendence of wisdom in just the way you have taught it, and even the transcendent Buddhas will joyfully congratulate you when the blessed Lord has spoken. Thus the venerable Sharadati, the noble Bodhisattva Avalokiteshvara, the great hero, and everyone in that audience and the whole world with its gods, humans, titans, and rejoiced, and all applauded what the Buddha said. And then the tradition is, you say, all any negative spirits who may still be hanging out after hearing that, be gone, and you clap 3 times.
I'm still here.
Okay.
Oh, Shariputra.
Thank you. Those of you who are going to be here next time, please keep the paper so we can don't have to print it out again, okay? If possible. We'll have a few more anyway. Okay, next course.
What do you want to do?
Sahib. K.D. Sahib.
Gee, Babza.
Adelante. Adelante.
Why don't we sing?
Cantar.
Let's sing something.
Cantar.
Okay, we'll sing a little thing. What should we sing?
Hari Buddha, Buddha Buddha, Hari Buddha,
Hari Buddha,
Hari
Buddha, Hari Buddha.
Hari Krishna, Krishna Krishna. No, whatever. Come on, sing whatever.
Okay.
Hari Radha, Hari Radha, Radha Radha.
Okay.
Hari Sita, Sita Sita, Hari Sita, Sita Sita.
Okay. We'll sing to a different avatar of Vishnu.
Okay, of course.
Ram,
Just
instead
kidding.
of Buddha.
All the
They're all
same.
the same.
It's all good.
So we'll sing all together. Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram 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 Shri Ram Jai Ram Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Shri 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 Ram Jai Ram Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai 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 Jai Ram Ram Jai Jai Ram Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Shri 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 Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai
That's good. That's so good. Ah, oh, yeah, my vocal cords. Wonderful. I was just thinking,
Yeah.
who knows that all by heart, Matsya, Kurma,
All the guys.
turtle, like
The whole
fish,
team. The fish, Matsya, yeah.
turtle,
What is the turtle, yeah.
and then
Varaha.
Yeah,
The
before
boar.
turtle, there's some other thing.
The boar.
The boar.
Yeah. Boar. The boar's later. Then, then boar. Then those four, like
Then there's,
Matsya, kurma, then whatever, kurma is a turtle, right? Yeah,
Turtle, yeah.
there's another like animal like that. Then boar, then dwarf, then Parashurama.
And then the nursing, the man lion.
Narasimha, okay, Narasimha. Okay, yeah, just fish, turtle, boar, dwarf, Narasimha, human lion, Parashurama, Rama, Krishna, Buddha, Kalki.
Yeah.
All 10, all the same.
Kalki is supposed to be Maitreya Buddha also?
Kalki, no. Kalki is from Shambhala.
Oh, yeah, right.
Maitreya is another thousands of years.
Oh, okay.
Supposedly. All the same. That's beautiful. In India, the connection of the human and the animal was known from forever.
Right. One time I was sitting with Maharaj-ji and
What's that?
I was sitting with Maharaj-ji one day,
Mm-hmm.
and he grabbed my notebook where I wrote down prayers and things, from different traditions, and so he goes through it, and he goes through pages. He passed the Sufi stuff, the Christian stuff, and he stops on this page and says, "What's this?" And I looked. It was a Buddhist prayer. And I go, "Oh, shit." Here I am in the Hanuman temple with my guru, and he finds I got these Buddhist prayers. What's he going to do? He said, "What is this? What is this?" I said, "It's the song of Mahamudra."
Oh, right.
And
Okay.
so he said, "Translate some." I can't translate, but there was an Indian guy there who translated, and he translated a few of the shlokas, and Maharaj goes, "Teek, correct, very good, very good." And I went, "Really?" So he keeps going through the book, and he finds we had made these little postage stamp size pictures of Maharaj-ji. There was like a Ramesh Aras. You here? Yeah, he made them. And so we all had these little. So he sees this little picture, and he gets, "Who's that?" And I said, "Maharaj-ji, it's you." He goes, "Nay, Buddha."
Perfect.
So I was off the hook, or on the hook, as the case may be.
Perfect.
Hooked. Yeah.
Actually, I walked in here and forgot some book I was going to bring. I have to go get it, but not yet. So, perfect, right? Perfect. So when Ramdas was freaking out about Bangladesh, then Maharaj-ji said, "Don't freak out. Don't you see it's all perfect?"
Yeah.
So then Ramdas said, "It's perfect, but it stinks." And where Maharaj-ji didn't say anything yet?
I
Do you remember?
I don't know. I think he was. No, I don't know what he said at that point, if anything. Ramdas wanted to take the Volkswagen bus to Bangladesh to use as like a hospital, to bring people to the hospital.
Sure.
And Maharaj said, "Nay, you can't go." He said, "Don't you know it's perfect?"
Yeah, get killed.
Yeah. It was
Get
a little
killed.
difficult to process that.
So that's the big picture. So we were talking earlier today, you said about the big form.
Oh, yeah.
There's the big form and the little form,
Mm-hmm.
and the specific form. So when Maharaj-ji said perfect, was he thinking the big form?
Sure, he was talking about the big picture, where everybody's always.
Mm-hmm.
How do I know what he was talking about? Don't
What?
sucker me into talking for Maharaj.
Just make sure everyone can hear you.
Can everybody hear me out in the back? If you can't hear me,
Can you
raise
hear
your
us?
hand. Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Ah,
So it's a really interesting question because of course some people feel that's heartless to say that. Like Ramdas clearly did, right? He said, "Yeah, but it stinks," he said.
yeah, something like that.
And as I said, it reminded me of which happened to me at the same time, a story I think I told. I don't know I hope I didn't tell it last week, but I think I've told you before. A story that I had a dream at that time. I was there in Himalaya with you at the same time you guys were, in 1971. And right near you, I was in Almora, and you were in Khenchi near Nainital. And I had this dream that I was berating my guru, also, the Geshe Wangyal, the Mongolian, who was sitting on a stone slab table outside the little bungalow, the stone bungalow that we rented at that time up on Cranks Ridge, a place on Balmora called Cranks Ridge,
Right.
because there were a bunch of cranks living up there. And Lama Govinda lived there, and before him Evans Wentz, and one guy called Shunya, a Danish guy, who was really definitely crank. There were a lot of cranks up there. And I was berating him because, like, I was saying, where is the Nirmanakaya? And in Buddhism, there's a way of expressing Ramdas, and you said that Maharaj-ji initiated this idea of puppet. Did he, or is that Ramdas's locution?
No,
That was your locution.
I
That's a
think so.
Krishna Das special.
Maybe.
Oh, maybe.
I don't know.
Because Ramdas calls it meat puppet. This is our meat puppet, he said,
Yeah,
right?
I think I told him that.
which is like John Perry Barlow's idea that we're in meat space here.
Yeah.
We're in meat space. So the enlightened beings they really are living in a body of beatific bliss that is infused in everything and everyone. And so they remain happy even when others are suffering, and completely because they see them as configurations of bliss, even though they have configured themselves into a state of mutual suffering, mutual torture. It's all a play of bliss. They see it like that, which then people are afraid of that because that seems very callous. But that's the wisdom vision. That's the big form. And then I was berating him because then the idea is that such a being in a beatific form of pure bliss simultaneously has a compassion, because through the bliss they're able to feel they are the same as other beings, which is, I think, something we don't emphasize. We all have mystical, I'm sure all of you have had powerful oneness experiences, either natural or with aids, with chemical assistance, but the tendency is to have at first blush of such an experience, it seems as if there's no people there. It seems as if it's a vast oneness which is just like an undifferentiated field of light or bliss or energy or whatever it might be in different forms. And then the return to the differentiated forms sort of is like a come down, although then the blissful oneness may resonate for a while within that, but it seems to be dampening that feeling. And but the idea is that the enlightened being, fully enlightened being, the blossomed being, which doesn't mean a Buddhist, it means one who is Buddha, who has blossomed into life's perfection, that they completely feel one with the other beings when the other beings are all there. So completely one with all the differentiated entities, simultaneously seeing them as differentiated and aware of them from all directions and dimensions in something inexpressible and inconceivable, therefore talking about it. They experience that, and then they are not lacking in sensitivity of compassion that realizes that those beings are configuring themselves into a differentiated entity that is having a really hard time with what it is related to, with the other that is around it. There may be some parts of it that they can get along with, but mainly they are frightened of the vast otherness of the universe. And the compassion of such an enlightened being feels that. And so, because they are one with them, which they're enabled to be by the bliss, and that bliss does not dampen down their sensitivity to the other's suffering, but luckily it makes it bearable because they see that suffering as caused by the other's failure to see themselves in the big form. Okay? Right?
Yeah. And
so then what the compassion drives them to do from their infinite energy bliss body, bliss embodiment, where embodiment doesn't really mean like something separated, but it's like an embodiment, to manifest puppets of forms that can interact with the beings that think they're suffering, and therefore are suffering, in such a way as to relieve them from that suffering, which cannot necessarily be done instantaneously, but may be done through opening some doors and windows inviting them to drown themselves in 2 inches of water and things like that. And doing amusing things like that.
Okay.
And so that's called the Nirmanakaya, the body of emanation, or many bodies of emanation. And it is why Mahayana Buddhists cannot understand Christian doctrine, that an omnipotent deity would have only one kid one time, to hang out with one group of people. You know, it's really ununderstandable, because they feel that if you have even less than Buddha never claimed omnipotence, but if you have omnicompetence and omnipresence, and you want to deal with people suffering, then there's no limit. There's no limit to what bliss can do. Is the idea. So I just wanted to defend Maharaj-ji against both. At the time when I heard Ram Dass tell that story in Northampton, Massachusetts, I was feeling critical of Maharaj-ji for saying it's perfect when babies were being bayoneted and horrible atrocities were going on. But he was trying to help Ram Dass see there's a double vision of things, and that the double vision doesn't block your activist vision. Actually, it makes it effective. Actually,
Right.
Because if you're blissed out enough, you definitely wouldn't go in a Volkswagen. you would go in some kind of a supernatural tank, and then with a hospital attached to it, somehow behind or something like that. So that's a great story. And then Nirmanakaya, the Indian imagination is just incredible. And these paintings, those little paintings, if you have time to see them, the little black ones with the gold painted by the master. They're painted by the Korean master of the Goryeo painting school. And in a way, that's the vision of India as it expressed itself through China and Japan and Korea, these more rigid societies than India was in those days. Much more rigid. But still, that the vision of the Lotus Sutra is there, the vision of the flower garland school, Buddha garland school. Amazing visions of the universe. I wanted to read, what's his name, but I forgot to be resting here because I was late.
Which one?
I may have to walk out there and get it.
Which one?
It's a Manjushri book.
Oh, the book. Okay.
Of the great yogi. So I may have to go get it. Can you go get it? It's in that big white bag. And my Essential Tibetan Buddhism book is there. And then this book called Manjushri Discovers Something or Other. You'll see it. It's a newish looking book, hardback.
This.
What's that? Oh. Oh, you did it.
I did it.
Oh.
But I didn't come up with a melody for it.
You didn't come up
It's
with a
very
melody yet?
difficult. It's very difficult melody.
Vajra tikshna dukkha cheda prajnana murtaye jnanakaya vakishvara arapachanaya te namaha. What can we do with that?
Not much.
So this is a salutation to Manjushri. Manju means gentle and sweet. Manju is the way it sounds. Manju. And then Shri means glorious, glory, so gentle glory. And it's also called Manju Gosha, gentle voice, because it's a voice, his voice of the teaching of freedom is a voice that resonates with your own inner voice, of your own inner intuition. So it's therefore gentle, it doesn't have to be harsh in any way. So Om Vajra Tikshna Dukkha Cheda, so Om, diamond sharpness that cuts suffering. Prajnana Murtaya, an embodiment of the intuition of non-dual wisdom. Jnanakaya, who embodies intuition. Vagishvara, the God of speech. Arapachanaya te, Arapachanaya, that's Arapachanaya means, Arapachanaya means who evolves or who develops living beings. Who that Lord of that God of speech who develops living beings, evolves them. That is Arapachanaya te namaha, because that's the Manjushri's famous mantra. Is all three. Yeah, great, that's perfect. famous mantra is this Arabhajana. Om Arabhajana di 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 di. Om Arabhajana di. Om Arabhajana di. One of my favorite lamas, Tara Tulku, he used to constantly recite that mantra, Om Arabhajana di. And when you have a baby in Tibetan or Mongolian culture, or probably ancient Indian culture also in the last 5th century, when you have a baby, you get a monk to recite Om Arabhajana di into butter, like 10,000 times, and then take the butter, put it on the tongue of the baby, Om Arabhajana di. And then when you recite it yourself, if you want to be smarter to pass your exams or to deeply understand something, you go Om Arabhajana di 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 di, and you can do that 108 times without having to inhale. If you can do that, then your IQ jumps by 20 points. Seriously, because the intelligence is connected to the tongue. We would never think of that in our dumb culture.
No, it was too stupid.
Well, what do we think? It's in the wetware somewhere. Yeah. But the tongue is really deeply connected to our understanding. Language comes from the tongue. When I first hit India, when I went from Harvard, I ran away from Harvard to go to India. And when I got to India and I learned something about Sanskrit, and I realized that all of the talking and the blabbering that I had been doing at that point for 21 years, was done with my tongue and my teeth and my lips and my palate and my breath. And even there's even something, you do a few things with your glottal mechanism. You go, and they never taught me that at Exeter, Harvard, St. Bernard's. That when you talk, you're flapping your lips. That's what the Zen people call it. You're flapping your lips. They never know. And did any of you ever know that consonants have no sound? Did you ever know that? You could make a sound of a consonant without a vowel. The A part is a vowel.
Oh.
The explosion was great, but if you couldn't make that, this vowel, that's it.
Right.
It's just a position.
Yeah.
It's a position of the tongue and the lips. But that's a really good one. You could speak Swahili. How can you do that again?
I can. Rosa.
Wow.
Rosa.
That's awesome. That's great. So I never knew that. That was like a revelation. I was looking for enlightenment, and I found out what had been happening all along, talking, which they never mentioned. The Greeks, the Hebrews, the Romans, the French, the English, and the British and the Americans never noticed. Seriously, and the Russians. Linguistics was only invented when they discovered Sanskrit. I swear. They never had a system of linguistics in the West. You think you're so smart. We think we're so smart, but we didn't. Oh, anyway, so come on, can we sing this before I go crazy? Om Bhajra Krishna. Shall we all sing together? Come on.
I don't think you should do it like Frank Sinatra.
What?
Don't try to do it like Frank Sinatra. Just.
Come on.
I don't.
Om Bhajra Krishna Dukkha Cheda. Your voice is so good. Come on. Om Bhajra Krishna Prajna Jnana Murtaye Jnanakaya Vakishvara Arapachanaya Te Namaha. Okay? Again. Om Bhajra Krishna Dukkha Cheda Prajna Jnana Murtaye Jnanakaya Vakishvara Arapachanaya Te Namaha. Om Bhajra Krishna Om Bhajra Krishna Dukkha Cheda Prajna Jnana Murtaye Jnanakaya Vakishvara Arapachanaya Te Namaha. What are you quitting? You're quitting right away. This is straightening up stuff. Come on, you get it. Yeah, many times. How many ramas you do? Ram. Come on. Let's try it now. No, this is something so ancient. It is ancient.
I'm good. I'm ancient too.
You are. No, you're not that ancient. A previous life, yes.
Yes.
Om Bhajra Krishna Dukkha Cheda Prajna Jnana Murtaye Jnanakaya Vakishvara Arapachanaya te namaha. Om Vajratishna Dukha Cheda Prajnana Murtaye Jnanakaya Vakishvara Arapachanaya te namaha. You know, there's like, these are usually, these kind of lines are 16 syllables, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You see, there's 16 syllable,
16,
like, what they call
Yeah.
Tristub line or something like that. The Om is separate, really.
Yeah.
And I noticed that J-Ram, 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 there's 7.
Yeah.
Because you're not using the Rama, you never use
Yeah,
the second.
Rama, yeah.
You just you swallow the Ram, so it becomes 7. But I think it's the same basis.
Probably.
You think?
I don't know. I
Anyway.
don't know. If I
And
know, I
then-
say I know.
Sito Hridyanana Murtiraham Buddho Buddhanam Triyadbhavatina. This is really interesting. It's hard though. Okay.
That's great. You do
A,
that.
I, U, I, O, Au, A. Stito Hridi.
Heard these hard.
Jnanamurtir Aham Buddho Buddhanam Triyadbhavatinam. So this is really interesting. You, Stito Hridi, standing in my heart. And this is the soul, you know. I want everyone to know, this is newsflash, straight from Ram Dass. Buddhists have souls, and Buddha taught the soul. Buddha did not teach. Did you notice in that Prajna Paramita that we read, he was going on and on, no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no everything. So when he gets in a no mood, it's no to everything. And the no means, this is short form, Heart Sutra. So the no means no as a separate intrinsic reality. Intrinsic reality means something that is real as an absolute out of its own essence and non-relational.
Yeah.
So the no means there's no nose unrelated to the cheek, you know, the thigh bone, the hip bone connected to the thigh bone, the thigh bone connected to the bone, whatever, and finally the nose. And there's no nose,
It
there's
ends
no
at the
hip bone,
nose?
there's no thigh bone as a thing by itself,
Right.
if you follow me. That's all it's saying. Emptiness, which means freedom, is just freedom from any non-relational thing. So it is actually the proclamation and discovery of relativity. Full relativity, meaning we are totally interrelated with all of each other. That was the discovery. That was the liberating discovery. That sounds to us at first blush horrible, like we have to be related to everything and everybody. That's why we have a caste system, so we don't have to relate to those other people. And believe you me, India had a color bar. You know, the ancient word for caste in Vedic period is varna. Varna means color. And the whiteys were coming.
Mm-hmm.
And the whiteys came down from, at that time in Central Asia was not the Mongolian, it was a bunch of whiteys. And those white boys, they came down in chariots with horses. And they asked Indra, one of his names was Grama Gataka, which means shatterer of citadels. And they broke down that Harappan culture, that was mother goddess culture. And there's the famous, on the seal, remember, with the famous Ithiphallic yogi?
Yeah.
Imagine Ithiphallic. What is Ithi? Ithi means a stone, I think.
It's what?
Ithi. That's a Greek for stone, or I hope it's not fish.
No. It's Greek to me.
Ithiphallic. I'm sorry, it's a terrible Minnesota thing. But you know, there's that famous seal of the mother goddess. And then there's a Shiva-like yogi. That's one of the few remnants of Harappa. But so they have speculations, but they don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So they came down, and then they always pretend they're whiter, and they called sin and virtue black and white. And it was a total, you know, Malcolm X, if he discovered that in prison, he would have freaked out about India.
Yeah,
He would have. And he would have been right to.
absolutely.
So anyway, I'm sorry, that's a digression. That's my age. You know. But this is really, So those are two different vowels. Is the primal vowel. That is one the same as Brahma. It's the same as freedom. The word Well, you made that sound. You went. But the is what the brought it to life. So that's and then there's
Right.
So there's short and long, and then and then ooh, And those are the three primal vowels. Then E is ah plus E. So if when you go ah, short ah plus E, E. And then I is long ah plus E, I. Then O is ah plus U. Is O, that's your Om, ah plus U. So Om is ah, U, three things. And ah, O, body, speech, mind. And then Au is ah plus U. And then ah. Is the anusvara, the nasal ending, and ach is the visarga, the honey. So those are considered the root, all the root vowels. I don't know why they make ach a vowel. I still couldn't answer that question. And then, so those are the primary. That's all of creation in there. In India, creation comes from language. In the Christian Testament, they have the Book of John. They have in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God, blah, blah, all that. So this is the word, the life of the word are those vowels. Ah, I, U, E, I, O, Au, ah. So each of us, the idea, this is the amazing thing. The super subtle soul mind is pure light, clear light, and bliss. That's all it is. But then when it wants to articulate itself in form, it kind of coats itself with those vowels. And they kind of emerge micro vowels. They're nano vowels. And they emerge and they stito hrdi. They stand in the heart. And so then from the whole body, the whole coarse body radiates from those vowels. And if they pick up consonants in order to make a word like liver or heart or kidney or whatever, and the word weaves the physical form, rather than some atomic thing. It's like the words are the atoms. That's why mantra is powerful. And then Jnana Murti Aham, I am the body of intuition. And the soul has its intuition. And then its intuition is its body. So it's all made, the body is made of knowledge, of wisdom, of intuition. And true intuition is one with its object. It's non-dual. So when you know something, it's like, and we all have it all the time, which we don't notice. If I look up at white wall, at first, and the vision is so key, because when you look in the sky, and then actually you lose yourself right away in the sky. But then what you do is you think sky, and you shut it off, and then it's outside there, and you saw it. And it's like becomes an object. And you cover it over with your concept. Do you follow? Yeah. But actually, when you first lose yourself in the sky, you discover your oneness with the sky. If I touch your shoulder, I lose myself in your shoulder. But then I say, Ramdas, Krishna Das' shoulder, and then my fingertip, etc. And then I redivide it that way. So, Jnana Murti means my body really is my intuitive knowledge of all reality. And aham, that's me. Aham. And that's a really marvelous thing. The hum is the moon of the bliss energy in the crown, and the is the fire below the navel, in the place there, going up the central channel and melting the bliss down through the thing. That's really what aham is. That's a really nice thing. And then Buddho, I am Buddha. So at soul level, that's where everybody is already Buddha. Aham Buddho. And the Buddha is better than being God. Teacher of gods. It can be God, can be human, can be anything. It is everything. And then Buddhanam Triyadva Vartinam, who exists in the three times. Triyadva means triple path, but that means time. So the triple path of Buddhas, proceeding, Vartinam means functioning in the three times of the Buddhas, among the three times of Buddhas. So that's a great thing. You're all Buddhas at that super subtle level, where no, they don't do those are really interesting. I, o, There are four more vowels actually, which are That's why Krishna is not really Krishna, it's Krishna.
Correct. Yeah.
So and those are we call semi-vowels, because they can also be consonants as initials. And those are the bridge between the vowels and the consonants. So they're even deeper in the super subtle soul, heart. Okay?
Deeper than the vowels themselves? Or between the vowels and the consonants?
Something like that, but that's true. Yeah, they shouldn't be deeper, but they, in a way, when you're merging into heart, I don't know. I'm a little bit ignorant, but I love it. So you already are, and the thing is, we don't think we are, and we don't feel that we are, and we can't function like we are. So we're sort of shut up in the meat puppet, as Ram Dass calls it, or in meat space. We're shut off in our coarse body. And actually, they say this is, you'll like this, there's a six-fold knot in the central channel, above and below, that the location of that soul continuum. It's a constantly changing, tiny micro energy, but it's shut in by a Star of David, or a Seal of Solomon, or a Shiva Shakti. Two triangles interlocked, 6 points. That's a really nice thing. White and red. That six-fold knot is white and red, and the super subtle soul is deep blue, like the color of Krishna. But what's great about the 3 times thing and why it's mentioned there, I particularly like that, why it's mentioned there, is that right now, every single person here is going to be such a perfect Buddha, according to what they think, because the future is not limited. The future is infinite. It is unlimited. So therefore, those of us who are so densely attached to being shut up within our skin bag, in our meat puppet, will eventually get bored with it, and we'll realize its relationality, and we'll be able to expand our boundary and our sense of identity, and we'll be able to identify with all life. Naturally, we will feel that, because we are one with all life, actually. And when we do that, we become a Buddha. But then time no longer means a thing. So therefore, at that time, we will realize we already were Buddhas now. Do you get it? So this moment will be there, and is already there, but we won't realize it until we're there. But then we'll realize that when we're there, that we were already there here. So we'll be cool here retroactively. That's really fun. That's how I console myself for being an idiot. Still, after 50 years of study in this life, 50, 60 years of study, right?
Right.
And you brilliantly said when we chased away the negative spirits, you said you were still here. But that's too self-deprecating. You're not a negative spirit. I don't agree with that. But he's being nice to me with this verse because he knows I love this. This is called Manjushri Nama Samgiti, the hymn of the names of Manjushri, which is this subtle body of wisdom that enfolds all beings in it already. But beings only slowly reveal to themselves that they are there eventually. And it's a really considered the most beautiful thing, actually, almost. And he's humoring me. I'm trying to get him to chant, to learn how to chant it.
It's Nam. Nam is name. It's the names of God.
Yes.
Just
yes.
like
Manjushri Nama Samgiti.
Yeah, the names of Manjushri.
And Manjushri is kind of God, yes.
Well,
but just only the thing is that there are different kinds of gods.
That's true. And
there's one kind of God who is held as an archetype of being separate. That's the Protestant one. Absolute otherness of God. I can't tell you how much in New England I heard that phrase.
Mm-hmm. Where'd you hear that?
In New England.
New England, oh yeah.
Massachusetts.
Yeah, they have a problem.
We have to remember the absolute otherness of God. Actually, I have a funny joke. My friend Tai Uno was a beautiful, he passed away, late Tai Uno. He was a Japanese American who had been interned at the age of 6 or something, or 5, from California, and his family lost their farm and the whole thing, and he was sent to Nevada. It was a very terrible thing happened to all the Japanese Americans, even though some of their sons who were grown up were fighting on our side against the Japanese in the Pacific, but they still interned them. The white supremacists of those days. And anyway, he was a professor of Buddhist studies at Smith. And I taught at Amherst for years. And at one point, after about 8, 9 years there, I had tenure or something. We were having a dinner or some event. And I said, I used to be so nervous when I first was here in Amherst, in Massachusetts, in religion classes, because I noticed that the students, when the professor would be talking, and they would say God, in terms of like Durkheim's analysis of God, like some sociology or anything like that. But when they would say the word God, all the students, the boys and girls, they look like that.
Right.
So I got into a thing where I would always say, and then, we get into the concept of God, and I would go with quotes, quote God, unquote. And I kept doing that because then they wouldn't look shivery.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But then thousands of Vietnamese boat people showed up during those 70s. And there was a lot of Asians in the field, do you know what I mean, around. And then suddenly it lost its weight in a certain way. I can't explain it. It was more like, God, and nobody would shiver and shake. So I mentioned that to my Japanese colleague, that what happened, or is that just my hallucination, or what was it? I associated with the arrival of many Asian people, which is one of the reasons I think California is a little more relaxed about these things, because there are more Asians there. So he said, oh, no. It was much worse when I first came 4 years before you, he said. In that time, me and my Asian colleagues, we called it the pause for thunder. So people shouldn't be scared, That's the beautiful thing about Krishna. And, anytime you can start thinking about Krishna, I especially love, you have to understand the achievement of India culturally and spiritually to end up with the 8th avatar of God as a black man. And that was huge for the Brahmins, you understand? They had this thing of white and black, And yet here they're worshiping God as a black man. It's like being in Black Panther for centuries and Wakanda and dealing with it, although on some level, some deep inner level, and seeing that as beauty and power associated with the thundercloud of the monsoon, bringing the rain, and creativity and fertility and joy and beauty, It's really wonderful, actually. But India still struggles with it, because any kind of vast population like that, there are people who, as we've noticed here in America, we don't yet have a Neanderthal in the White House, but we might soon at this rate. If you all don't vote, you never know. They might dig up one Neanderthal down there somewhere in Alabama or something, or Mississippi or Chicago or New York, the Bronx. Anyway, okay, I don't want to regress. So Umbadzatiksna Dukkacheda. So the idea, and this is the idea, like everybody should cheer up. And I think that's why we love that's where your voice resonates with that. Because, Vajratiksna Dukkacheda Pradnyana Murtaye, who has the body of the intuitive, selfless wisdom that cuts the suffering like the super sharp diamond.
Fantastic.
Right?
Beautiful.
Pradnyana, and that's based on I'm a Buddha, and then 3 times, traveling in the 3 times. Because in my heart there is the e, u, he, I, u, au, ah. But each verse like this can be unpacked endlessly. They say if you know the Manjushri Nama Samgita, if you know the Samgita, you know all Tantra, you know all Sutra. If you don't know it, you don't know it. They say, and I don't know it. I don't. I'm studying it. I've been doing other things, But they're all 8 syllables. So don't you chant Krishna create? What is it? Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare. What is it? Hare. What is it? There 7 or 8.
Yeah, it's 16 and 16.
Yeah, well, that's the same line.
With
Then.
Hare Krishna,
So anything you have a 16 line for, you can do one of these verses in. And then the thing would be we don't have to read all of it. You just keep repeating the one verse. Okay, this one would be very hard. They would tend to merge together.
Very hard.
Imam Sanmantra Rajanam Samyuktam Advayodayam Anutpada Dharminim Gautam Bhashate Sma Giram Pate. That's a little long one. Anutpada Dharminim Gautam Bhashate Sma Giram Pate. That adds.
That's a different meter.
That's a different meter, yeah. There's occasionally the long verses like that.
These are all the
Right. Iti Vajra Dhatu Mandala. And this, all of these verses create what's called the Vajra Dhatu Mandala Jnana Gathas. And Gatha means this kind of chanting verse.
Right.
Gatha.
There's a song.
And Chaturdasha. And you see, the other reason that the chanting and the verses are so important in this system of education is that people memorize things enormously. And why do you memorize it? Because only when you memorize it, then can you remember it, can it come to you as a structure of your meditation. So when you have it in memory, then you then learn in commentaries from gurus the meanings, and then you meditate it and you have the sort of skeleton of the meaning you want to gain insight into through the meditation, and you have it as a mnemonic thing, a mnemonic structure, harmonic mnemonic structure in your mind, quietly, and then you meditate that. And then Gatha reinforces your remembrance. The chanting reinforces your remembrance. You mentioned to me a wonderful experience you had and how it was a memory. And then we were talking earlier, and I reminded you that the word for mindfulness, everybody's crazy about mindfulness, but the word mindfulness, it just is the same exact word as memory. Smrti, or sati in Pali, it means memory. So the thing is, we're here. Do we remember that we're here in this moment? And then we call that mindfulness. Because normally we're in the here in this moment, but we're thinking about something else. And we're having a reverie of a memory or a reverie of a fantasy of the future. And we're sort of only partly here, And occasionally, that's why when myself, I'm a lecturer, in university class, and every 8 minutes you have to crack a joke or something to get the student back. You do, or you lose them. They keel over.
Very nice. Yeah, good.
Thank you for bringing that.
Talking about the Dalai Lama and Christianity, I heard a story that one time
Yes.
a group of priests went to see His Holiness.
Yes.
And they said, Your Holiness, what's your idea of sin?
Of what?
Sin. Sin.
Jenny?
Sin. Sin. S-I-N.
Oh, sin, right.
Sin, yeah. So
Right.
he was quiet for a few minutes, and then he said, it's kind of a Christian thing, isn't it?
Well, yes, because I think he was remembering, he was being aware of, and he does the same thing with guilt.
Mm-hmm.
And he was aware of the extra heavy weight they put on it.
Yeah.
But actually, it's universal. And they're papa in
Pop,
Sanskrit.
yeah.
Doesn't mean
Pop
Sanskrit.
means to burn, doesn't it? What
But
makes you burn?
Doesn't
Heat.
tapa, that's tapa.
Heat.
Papa.
That's tapa.
I'm
That's
not sure.
Papa. I thought.
Papa, I think, might be associated with poop, but I'm not sure.
Well, what to do?
I'm not sure. I forget. It might be.
Anybody know?
But there is a concept of sin, in Buddhist translators, because in the West they don't want to use the word, so they say negativities.
Negative.
I get rid of all my negativities, they say. But there is a word sin and there is the word evil. But in those words, in those languages, are not freighted as much.
Yeah.
Because the root of them is ignorance, and they are sort of less real than virtue and
Right.
goodness and kindness and love and things.
It's not an original sin. You weren't.
Yes.
We weren't created with that.
Right,
Yeah.
that's right.
Yeah. That's
So,
what-
in other words, it's not as heavy, and then the idea of
Yeah.
guilt that you're trapped in having done it. And they have a famous story of Buddha, who helped this guy called Angulimala,
Oh yeah.
who was a mass murderer, because he was a very faithful Brahmin student, and his guru was an old Brahmin who had a young wife. And the old Brahmin was jealous about the young student. He thought maybe the wife, nothing had happened, but because he was a virtuous, good, Angulimala was a good guy, and so was the
good
wife.
serial
But
killer.
he was just jealous. And so he then told Angulimala, he said, I'm going to give you the secret precept. You don't have to stay here anymore because I'm giving you the secret precept. And what is the secret precept? You kill 999 people, and you make their finger bones into a mala,
That's
into a
what
garland.
Anguli's finger. Angulimala means a mala or a necklace of fingers.
Yeah, and you make a big mala of their finger bones, and then the 1,000th one you kill your mother, and you get her finger bone. And so he was really ravaging the country. He was apparently a very fierce warrior.
Yeah, they were scared.
And he did kill 999 supposedly, and everybody was hunting him, but they couldn't master him, handle him. And then it said that this is in Pali, not in magical Mahayana, in regular Pali. And then Buddha knew that he was about to kill his mother. He was heading for where his home village, he was going to kill his mother. And Buddha appeared to him as his mother, manifested a puppet, a light puppet, an Obi-Wan type light puppet. And while he was sitting somewhere else, but he manifested one. And then this puppet just kept doing martial arts, Tai Chi and Aikido, and dumping the guy on the ground, and he couldn't catch or anything. And he finally wore him out because he was a ferocious guy. And then when he was worn out, he said, well, I guess you're either a demon or you're a god or something because you're not my mother. And so why are you doing this, and what is this? And will you please stop doing it? And so then the Buddha said, well, I have stopped, Angulimala, but have you stopped? He said. And somehow the way he said that to Angulimala, he had like an epiphany of some kind. And then, of course, Buddha explained to him that this was all wrong, and he was a great sinner, and he was definitely going to go to hell unless he did this and that. He told him the Four Noble Truths. And in about a few days, he became a saint. But it said that even though then he went to all the victims publicly and said, okay, execute me if you think it helps. And then the king came, and he was an executioner, and then the king said, no, wait a minute, hold on a minute. He's inviting us to execute him, so maybe he's not harmful anymore. And what do you think, Buddha? And Buddha said, well, you ask him. And he said, well, you can kill me if you want, but otherwise I'm a saint now, and I'll be helpful in the community. I'll do what I can, to make up things. So then they let him live. But when he died, it is said, although he was already somewhat enlightened, he went straight to hell for all the murders and bounced right out. And they always tell that story so people don't feel burdened by guilt they can face any negative thing they may have done, and realize they can unburden themselves of that, and they can free themselves from the consequence of that, because the nature of reality is freedom. That's what emptiness really means, freedom. Nobody knows that. I'm going to change the Heart Sutra translation next time. I'm going to make a new one. Okay. I'm going to do something really heretical. I'm going to translate emptiness as freedom.
You're going to make a lot of empty people angry.
What? I might. I will. But it's true. What is freedom? People go around like George Bush wants to bomb somebody for freedom, and W does. Freedom. We're fighting land of the free. Land of the free. But what is free? What do we say? Salt-free, sugar-free? It's a negation. Free is it means lacking something. So it means lacking bondage. So emptiness means freedom. Freedom from intrinsic reality. Freedom from false absoluteness. Freedom from self-other absolute separation. Freedom from hatred, etc., etc. Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
That makes it real American.
Yeah.
That's why I'll be criticized. Oh, he's Americanizing Buddhism. Buddhism can't be American. It's all those weird Asian people. It's something for them, and they like suffering, so they want everybody to suffer. And that's what Buddha said. It's all suffering. Buddha didn't say it's all suffering. He said if you're going to be stupid, you're going to suffer. If you insist on being self-centered, you're going to suffer. That's then you suffer. But he only said that, as the Dalai Lama always says, he only said that when he realized that there is freedom from suffering.
Right.
So, otherwise Dalai Lama said Buddha would be like somebody who went to somebody's life in prison and never get out of the prison and go, nya, nya, you're going to suffer. Dalai Lama actually went, nya, nya. He did that.
Yeah.
And he only said you suffer if you're ignorant, from ignorance, and the ignorance is a misknowledge about your own nature, thinking that you're an absolutely separate thing from everything else, and therefore you're totally overwhelmed. But if you wise up that you're interconnected with everything, you're going to be happy. So he proclaimed happiness, not suffering.
Yeah.
And that's really hard for us, happiness. People are looking serious right now. Look. The audience.
Don't want to be happy.
What?
We don't want to be free. We want to suffer.
Well, no, you don't want to suffer.
Oh, okay.
Because you don't smoke Gauloise, and you're not a French leftist existentialist intellectual. And poor Mathieu Ricard is attacked by them all the time
poor
for
Mathieu.
teaching happiness.
Really?
The happiest monk. That's what. But he looks like because they're always attacking him, his French colleagues.
Oh,
yes.
gee.
Because his father was a French philosopher.
Yeah.
And so, and he was upholding the great tradition of suffering on the left bank,
Oh.
with occasional intermissions for your Gauloise, you know. You know. But the point is, real happiness is really our birthright, as all sentient beings' birthright, and as humans, we're very close to it. And you know, aham buddho, you know, aham buddho, jnanamurti, aham buddho. Let's strike up a tune.
Crank up a
Can
tune.
we just sing the whole? Can I have it back to Vajradhatu?
That's-
So in these verses are supposedly produce the stage of the Vajradhatu. Although maybe we should meditate. Everyone should meditate for a minute. Shall we do that? We lead a
Okay,
meditation?
sure.
So you didn't bring the one where he saw his guru on the mountain? That printout we had the other day?
Yes, I have that.
You have
somewhere.
that?
I can find it, and give me a second.
Oh, good. Okay, I will use this as a lead into the meditation.
Oh, boy.
By the way, people can go. I see you were doing so. You can go to the bathroom anytime, and if the men's room is open, then the ladies can go there because there are many more ladies than men, since they are the leaders in spiritual growth in America. The ladies are. That's one Tibetan Lama noticed when he came here, and because when I teach anyway, I don't know about Krishna Das, but I always proclaim a free pea zone.
Yeah, it's a
Which
free,
means you
a
can
free
get up and
PT
go
thing, yeah.
anytime.
That's real emptiness.
I do.
Yeah. Oh,
I
boy.
do. I was inspired. You know, the German families for little children, they have shorts for them, which they call Schnellfeuerhosen,
Yeah.
Schnellfeuer, rapid-fire pants,
Rapid fire pants.
which are open. The seam in the back is open.
Oh, I see.
So for little kids. You know.
Yeah.
Schnellfeuerhosen.
Okay. Okay, Bob.
Did
All
you
right,
find
so
it? You want to read it?
I'm going to read you a poem,
Thank you.
and then Bob will lead us into a meditation afterwards.
Thank you.
This poem is by a great yogi, Tibetan yogi named Shabkar, who was a wandering yogi who taught through songs and poetry, and he was an extraordinary being. And he writes, I was in retreat. One day at noon, when the sky was clear, I walked to the summit of the hill above my cave and sat there alone. Toward the north, I saw a pure white cloud billowing over a mountain peak, like milk boiling over. At that moment, the memory of my precious guru overwhelmed me, and I sang this song of longing. To the north, a single great cloud surges over mountain peaks, white as overflowing milk. When I see this, I think of my guru's kindness. Beneath that distant cloud rise the solitary heights of auspicious hermitage. The way my master once lived in that excellent retreat place comes back to my mind. When I think of his kindness, tears well up in the eyes and sorrow in my heart. My mind is dazed, my perception uncertain, all is hazy and unreal. How wonderful if he were here again. I am but an ordinary man, a man with scant devotion, but I still long to meet him once again. The Guru dwells now in absolute space, and his miserable son is left behind in the mire of samsara. When I see the myriad flowers blooming in the meadows, I remember the sight of the true Guru. Then I could see him in person, inspired. Now I can't. As I think of him over and over again, the Master's presence fills my heart. As I listen to the cuckoo's gentle call, I remember hearing the true Guru's voice, so deep and sonorous. Then I could listen to his melodious speech. Now I can't. As I think of him over and over again, the Master's presence fills my heart. As I see the rising sun spread radiance all around, I remember the Guru's wisdom and compassion. Then he tenderly cared for me. Now that time is gone. As I think of him over and over again, the Master's presence fills my heart. I remember going to see him, having been away for months or years. The warmth of his welcoming smile comes back to my mind. No matter in what direction I go, I think of the Master. No matter in what solitary place I stay, I think of the Master. No matter what signs I see, I think of the Master. Always and all times, I think of my true Master. As I sang this plaintive song, the cloud continued to swell until it took the form of a heap of jewels. At the top, in a tent of 5-colored rainbow lights, my root guru appeared, performing a graceful dance, his hands in the gesture of protection. He was more resplendent than ever, peerless in loving kindness. He smiled radiantly and spoke these words in a voice like Brahma's. O noble son, you who are like my heart, do not despair. Listen to your father's words. We, father and son, who came together by the power of past prayers, are inseparable in the state of luminous absolute nature. Son, from now on, let the length of your practice be the length of your life. Wander from place to place in solitary mountain retreats. By practicing austerities, may you help all fortunate beings. Don't be sad. Look at the mind that feels sadness. The Guru is not other than the mind. It is the mind that remembers the Guru. It is the mind into which the Guru dissolves. Remain in the uncontrived nature of mind, the Absolute. With airy and graceful movements, as though dancing, he rose higher and higher until he vanished like a rainbow into the sky. The clouds too dissolved into space, and my grief dissolved along with them. I remained for a long while in a serene state beyond thought.
So let's meditate ourselves on that beautiful poem and imagine yourself high in the Trans-Himalaya on a beautiful foothill peak, not on a peak but on a round foothill, looking up at peaks all around, snow peaks, but around you in valleys and plains, green grasses billowing in the summer sunshine, but the air cool and crystal, and with billowing clouds dancing around, and in far views maybe some rain creating rainbows and things, like Shabkar was seeing in northeast Tibet at that time. And you're just at peace there. You've been hiking and camping, and you're meditating and sitting there at peace and feeling really elevated, calm, alert. And then imagine in the sky, on billowing cloud cushions, if you like, or in a kind of network, or glittering network of jewels, all those beings who have taught you something useful. If you have a main guru, or even if it's someone passed away, or someone in history who you read, but who somehow moved you deeply, who opened the doorways to some kinds of freedom for you, and relief, and delight, and positive hopefulness. And if there are many of them, then a whole host of them sitting in this network on sort of jewel lotus thrones. And they are smiling down at you because you're meditating and you've come to this beautiful in this high sanctuary space of a great bird, as it's called in its own language, bird, which relates to, it's like a calling sound, like a bird, like a sort of vast space with echoing sound. And then from the smiles and the glittering smiles of all these beings, light rays of energy and blessing come to you. And you feel energized by them. They come down in the form of like a liquid light of multicolored, emphasizing whatever is your favorite light of the time, but like a whole rainbow of light. And this light is like a nectar that flows through the crown of your head and fills your whole nervous system with a blissful feeling. And any kind of ache or pain or worry or anxiety gets flushed out through the pores, out through the molecules, out through the subtlest spaces between the subatomic particles, and flows out into the earth beneath and into the underworld where, relatively speaking, it's considered nectar by the beings below. So it's not just polluting or wasted. And then imagine that around you in that field are all your loved ones, and also all your acquaintances that you're not necessarily that fond of, but you don't dislike them. And then sort of on the right side in the front rows of all these beings, there are the ones you really particularly don't like. So much so, maybe some of them you don't even want to think that they're there. But they are there, and you sort of scan them all. Loved ones on the left and acquaintances in front. And behind them rows and rows and an endless host of all living forms, including all non-human, animal, divine, fairy, titan, demon, all of them. Although basically rendering them kind of in those times in their infinite past when they were human. Makes it easier if you think of them all as human. And the light that is flowing to you from all these mentors, these gurus, these benefactors that you've had in your life, these beings that have loved you and helped you, then that light that fills you up, it overflows and it reflects out to all these beings around you. And perhaps at first you kind of direct it toward the left side, where the ones you love are. And as you imagine them looking at you with their sweet faces that you love so much, and they look at you in a loving way, and they're so happy to receive this light that reflects from you, that comes from all these higher beings above you. And then the acquaintances in front are quite intrigued to see you glowing like that, and they also feel blessed, and they're happy to have your light. And then even the enemies over there are happy to see you radiating light, because then they think they can take it away. So all the different three types encourage you to shine more. They're not looking up into their own sky of refuge and of support and of protection and of instruction, but they at least look at you and they see you shining like that. And you are just so happy, and you can do varieties within this field. Is there a positive energy of gratitude and returns to you, and your gratitude goes up to the field above you. Could be your parents also, if you get along with them, or any loved ones. But especially those who have helped you and taught you things. And then so it's a kind of an infinite, constantly virtuous cycle, keeps reinforcing itself. And then you can do a thing like where when you inhale from those beings out in the outer rows, kind of whatever confusion and darkness they have. So as you inhale, you lessen their darkness because you become so bright and so fortified in your brilliant, luminous energy. And the fact that your own body itself actually really is made of light at the deeper level. We're not really meat puppets. We eventually discover that the meat puppet is a superficial way of looking at it, and actually even our bodies are made of light energy. And so you can absorb any kind of negative thing, and you inhale that in the form of clouds of fog and smoke and sadness and sorrow, and you inhale it. And as you inhale it, then it goes into this field of blessing that you're receiving endlessly. And it disappears into the vastness of freedom through your soul portal, which is super micro, the size of a mustard seed, but yet opens into infinity. And is lost there or transmuted like a black hole swallowing this substance of people's despair, and then radiating it out as a pulsar as you exhale. As you exhale, you reinforce the luminous wave coming from above you and from all around you in your immediate circle. And you radiate it further and further out into the vast host of beings. And you enjoy this field. And you don't worry if you can't hold steadily a sort of holographic vision all the beings that you know around you and all the beings that have benefited you above you. You sort of scan over them to remember them at first, and you feel their blessing. But if you can't keep your mind focused on them, it wanders away into other thoughts. You don't worry about it because you just suddenly know that you're in this very blessed place where all these amazing beings who have become so powerful and so knowledgeable and so loving and kind and compassionate that they are everywhere, really, actually, anyway. You're just imagining them being there with you this time in a form that looks like a separate form, but actually they are already everywhere. They're even suffused in every molecule of your own being, so it's very realistic. And so you just create this field and you use this field. You surround yourself with this field whenever you want to meditate on any topic. And as I say, you can meditate on, first thing, the most important thing to meditate is on being proud of yourself for meditating. And realizing that the fact that you can sit in a room like this at this time, you're a being that can do that and meditate, and try to focus your mind on a certain theme and avoid distraction, or bring your mind back to this theme from the distraction, is itself an enormous achievement of this super intelligent being that you are. You have this incredible super Google computer in your brain. Unbelievable, billions and billions of connections and things and memories, and actually deep in there are memories of countless previous lives that you had, but which are a little bit shut off by ideology for most of us at this lifetime in this culture, but they're there. And they call it, they try to associate with a structure, they say reptilian brain, I think from when we were crocodiles and dinosaurs and things, but we actually personally were all those things. And we have all those memories in us, all of us. And how proud of yourself you are that you have this ability of language. You can listen to teachings, you can be devotional in chant, you can learn stuff from people's minds who have lived thousands of years ago and thousands of miles away, and from other languages. And with that, you expand your experience by studying all sorts of things of others' experiences. And you are this super, and also you're on a planet where there have been enlightened beings and spiritually fully loving beings. And people like Maharaj-ji and Shakyamuni Buddha and Dalai Lama and all kind of saints, Jesus, St. John, St. Paul, Moses, Rabbi Hillel, Maimonides, Muhammad, Al-Khidr, Ibn Arabi, Al-Sindi, Attar, Milarepa, Hakuin, Baizhang, Huangbo, so Dogen, so many great spiritual beings, Lao Tzu, Confucius. And you are this tremendously, and you didn't just get here by accident, and your spirit and your soul came here from all kinds of other experiences, other life forms, and found its way to this one magnificent being and creature that you are, of such a high intelligence, a human being, in a community of such amazing human beings, and human beings who have tremendous freedom, leisure, opportunity to evolve, become conscious about evolution. And you waste your time a lot and just hang around and wait for things and just pass time and do things because you don't realize how precious every single moment of your intelligence is, of your intuition and your wisdom and your cultivation of compassion and your feeling of deep sensitivity and empathy and love for others. It is immensely precious. And if you really valued yourself in something other than sort of material substances, you would realize that your life moments are like incredible. You yourself are an emergent being and can emerge and become a conscious evolver to higher and higher and higher awarenesses and blissfulnesses and kindnesses and lovingnesses and understandings and self-restraints and generosities and tolerances and creativities and concentrations and insights and vast prayerful imaginations of how beautiful the world will be and can be, and you can devote yourself to that. And this is the real beginning of the path. Too often we think that spiritual traditions or religions begin by sort of, the best way to begin is by putting ourselves down. We're like so lowly, we don't know anything, we're idiots, which of course is not bad to be open-minded. But actually the most important basis is to really value yourself and your opportunity of your human life. And when you get really turned on to it, you can also think of the fact that it won't last forever, so you really should use impermanence, and you really should use your precious human lifetime to meaningful advantage. So in that field of the mentors and gurus and spiritual saints and predecessors above you and spiritual ancestors above you, and you could add your regular ancestors if you think they were spiritual, and then all of your other loved ones and even unloved ones around you, who you of course can learn to love easily, and then you have no enemies at all, and all new acquaintances, all wonderful people, and animals, angels and things. And you can do this ever so much better in that field of reinforcement. And also you're doing it for everyone, because the more you appreciate yourself and the more the energy of your self-appreciation in this realistic way, not just a narcissistic thing about I'm so vain or something, but really you are a being that could be of immense benefit to so many beings. And after you find your bliss in yourself, to bring the bliss out in the others, free them from the suffering. And then what you do at the end of the meditation, the beings above you that you should imagine, whichever one you like, or all of them, they're so happy to see you, feeling really happy about yourself and ready to really embark on becoming even greater and using your incredible abilities to do so. Then they just are not content to be above you and radiate light to you. They melt into light themselves. They come into what what Krishna Das calls the big form, the grand form, the magnificent form, I would even call it. And they melt into pure light, and they merge with you, and you express all of the goodness that they brought to you, and they dwell in your vastness of your heart, your soul, which is infinitely vast. And then you don't just sit and hog that up. You then imitate them, and you dissolve yourself into light, this special meditative, insightful self that you find when you come into this shrine space. And you melt into light, and you dissolve, and you merge with loved ones, and acquainted ones, and even unloved ones, and all beings, and you give away the virtue and merit that you have accumulated through this meditation. And then you hear a voice of either a friend or an enemy or an acquaintance like, hey, where did so-and-so go? Because we are together with all the beings we've ever known on a subtle plane, actually. They're all still right here with us. And so one of them, you just sort of hear, where's Bob? Where's Katie? Where are they? And then you're back in your ordinary self after the meditation. Ding. Ding, 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 ding. But you know, one thing in that poem, it illustrates what I was trying to say before. He was imagining, he was feeling lost because he was imagining that the Guru was only some absolute elsewhere.
Yeah.
Like we do about Buddha or Jesus or Moses or somebody would think they're like the Lone Ranger, they were there and they were great, and then they left town. Yeah. And then the Guru shows up like Obi-Wan. Yeah. And he says, Luke, cut the crap. You wander around and you are me, and I'm always here with you. And there's no way. But that means I'm not always here with you because I'm the space you're in. I'm always here with you specifically. Yeah. Because I remain aware of the specifics. Because of the non-duality. Absolute space of bliss is all of this. That's, voidness or freedom is matter. Matter is freedom. So this matter here is freedom, even though it seems like I can't put my knuckle through this rug and the platform underneath it, but I can touch it because each one is only relational. And that means it is what fills the space of freedom. And it's all bliss, Anyway. Ding! At ease.
Ding.
Do you want to chant something? Do you want to lead something? Too late? Oh my God. What? No way.
Way.
Way?
Way.
Way? Okay. Any question? 6
How many do we
minutes.
have to stop? 9?
What?
No.
Oh, you want to do what?
Nothing. No, I'm saying, I just asked what time we have to stop. 9. They want us to stop at 9 o'clock.
Yes,
Yes.
we will.
Yeah.
6 minutes.
I have 10 minutes.
Okay. So do you want to sing Tara or something?
Yeah, let's
Just
sing
quickly,
Tara.
6 minutes of Tara?
Yeah, sure.
6 minutes of Tara, Durga, Kali. The time goes so fast.
Ya Devi Sarva Bhuteshu Smriti Rupena Samstita.
Okay, do that one. Now, Devi, what?
Ya Devi.
Ya,
Ya Devi.
Ya Devi,
Sarva Bhuteshu
Sarva Bhuteshu, in all things.
Smriti Rupena.
Smrti Rupena, in the form of remembrance. Smrti Rupena, and then there's a Swaha or something, or what?
Yeah, Smriti Rupena Samstita.
Samstita,
Namastasyai.
Namastasyai, Namastasyai, Namo Namaha. Oh, yes, we do that with Richard Freeman. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Okay. Oh, I talk too much. I'm sorry, I talk too much. I talk too much. No?
Om Tare, Tu Tare, Ture, Swaha. Or Soha, whatever you like.
Okay.
We'll sing together.
blessings and happiness and 9 o'clock. Sweet dreams. Okay, thank you so much, KD. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Nina. Thank you so much, everyone.
This video was brought to you in part through the generous support of Tibet House US membership community and viewers like you. To learn more about the benefits of Tibet House membership, please visit tibethouse.us. Thanks for watching. Tashi Delek.